okay, the light with the camera, with the light in the living room is very strong.
So you look very lovely, very pretty, very beautiful, and
Thank you.
that will lead to my first question. So how do you respond to that?
I don't know. I think it's the body that can be um, like one can like it or not, and I think like at one time like this would embarrass me maybe a bit. Now I know it is referred to the body, so it's fine.
So how do you differentiate yourself from your body?
Well, like same way you wear a cloth or another, like if you wear a jacket or a shirt, like the same, like in fact, if you think about it, like we say my body, my mind, because it's actually like we are wearing them in a way. So it's more or less like this. You were asking me how it was like, I was not feeling very well the other day. I had some allergy.
Yes.
And it's the body that is sick, it's strange, it's different from before. It's not like feeling I am sick. But I still say I'm a bit sick, because it sounds odd to say my body is sick. And so it's the same.
Okay. So I will take this question a little bit further.
Yes.
So say like now somebody says, "Oh, I am in love with you." So is that person in love with the body, or is that person in love with you?
It depends the space out of which they're saying it, isn't it? Like if they are identifying with the body, they might think that, like they are in love with the body itself. Nowadays, if I say I'm in love with you, actually I don't say it very often. I think I'm busy being in love with everything more than saying it. But the thing is, like, the two bodies or more bodies are all drenched in this love that we are, that I am. So I am in the love with you. Often we say I love you, but I love you is more referred to like an energy that is vibrating between the bodies. It's more like a chemical thing, Maybe it's not so romantic. But true love is actually the silence that the body are into. Everything is into. So I am in love with everything. If somebody say to me, I love you, maybe I say, nice for you. It doesn't add anything to me, like, oh, I like you, or, I find you loving. I understand, like, the most of people refer it to the physical body because this is what they consider themselves to be. Sometimes instead it's like, I feel I am in this love with you. But I would say if this is the case, you don't even need to say it because you are busy being it. So with my partner, for instance, we never say I love you, It's just like, in a sense, we feel we are in this silence, and then bodies sometimes like each other, sometimes they fight even, or like they disagree, normal things because everything carries on the same because it's just a game. But love is another story. It's not like an arrival point. It's, I would say, the background. So it's constant. It doesn't change because somebody's present or it's not.
Okay.
I don't know if this was what you wanted to ask me, but
no, sure. All questions are good, and real questions are better. So, what is that thing you are wearing? You are wearing something?
You are? Sorry?
No. Oh, you are wearing a necklace. What is that stone?
Something is disturbing?
No.
I don't understand.
Uh,
I have a necklace?
yeah, what is that?
Oh, it's a little shell. I thought it was disturbing the communication with the...
No, I was just
no.
no, I just asking what
It's
is
a
it.
little shell, golden shell. It's a gift.
Okay. So one question I have is, say like that shell that you are wearing. So general concept is that that is unconscious, and as a human being, you or myself, we are conscious.
I'm not sure I'm understanding you in English. You say
Okay.
that on the unconscious?
Yes. So
Say it again?
yeah. So what I'm saying is the shell that you are wearing
Yes.
is considered not conscious.
It's considered not consciousness.
Not conscious.
Not conscious. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a person, as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
you, me, everyone else is considered conscious.
Okay. Now I understand.
So
Yeah.
do you agree with that?
Well, I would say that everything is consciousness, but
Mhm.
not through all forms. Consciousness is conscious of itself.
Mhm.
So we are, coming back to the metaphor you used before, this body is like a cloth we are wearing,
Mhm.
or like a camera we are looking through or hearing sounds through. So this tool, the human form, is a tool through which we can be conscious of ourselves as consciousness. Nevertheless, like this couch where I'm sitting in this moment, or this entire living room where I am, is consciousness. It's my consciousness, not my as the one that's supposed to be one time, but as I. You are me, You are my consciousness. This computer to which we are communicating as consciousness, it's a vibration of consciousness. So the difference between like a human being and not animated thing or object is actually that through the human being, the consciousness can be conscious of itself. That's all.
Okay. Okay. So you were saying that human consciousness is different from other kind because it is aware of itself.
Not exactly. What I'm saying is like that through that object that is the human being, consciousness can be aware of itself. If you say that there is a human consciousness, you hypothesize that there is a consciousness that is human and a consciousness that is not human. And it's not exactly like this. It's all one consciousness. But not through all objects, this consciousness can be aware of itself. Like you can take as as a metaphor, maybe like let's say there is like a house, a big house, and the eyes of the human body are like the windows through which you explore the garden or the house, the doors. And the objects that are not animated, they don't have this ability to access consciously to this that we are. So like a rose is busy being a rose, but doesn't know, consciousness doesn't know through that rose to be consciousness. This is the difference. As far as we know, maybe just like dolphins and chimpanzee or certain primates have like the beginning of the ability to self-recognize themselves, in the sense that, for instance, they recognize themselves in a mirror, for instance. But unless there are like other beings that I am not aware of, like aliens, or I don't know, they might exist. I never met them, but I don't preclude that it might exist. As far as I know, only the human form is able to self-reflect itself And this is, in a sense, why we feel it's so precious, because we intuit that it's a precious tool of the divine.
Okay. So you mentioned that everything is an expression or manifestation of consciousness. So what about that which is not a thing? Say, like, what about empty space?
That's consciousness.
So you think, okay.
Well, you can say that, like, nothingness or emptiness or void or vacuity, as it is called, it's the I. And when this I is able to self-reflect itself, I amness arises. And this I amness is the manifestation that you look at, the human bodies and the manifestation in general. So that's why we say everything is I, everything is one consciousness. The vibrating part, the manifesting part of consciousness is what we see, the lila, the game. And this I in itself is totally still, and it's what is observing all this game. Some distinguish the word awareness to express the silent background, and some just say consciousness to express the manifest. But at the end of the day, it's just words, you know. What is important is we know what we are referring to and we use it. We can call it Fred if you want, I don't mind. In these days, I'm not so keen, you know, in using as much as I can, of course, like too many spiritual words, you know, because they become kind of like language that can sound awkward to some people, where instead, like, what I'm convinced is that we all have experience of this, but we not all recognize it consciously, or we don't know what it is, you know. Well, a lot of people that I meet that are not in spirituality, or they come to a meeting for the first time, maybe by chance or because some friends brought them. Some of them, at the beginning, they think that they don't understand anything, and then after a while, when we're speaking, they say, "Ah, wait a minute, I know what you're talking about," you know. Like so, sometimes this word, you know, consciousness, awareness, or dream, they can become a bit catchy, you know. They're good because they can be very precise in point what we're talking about. And, I'm learning that it's important, you know, like to, in a sense, not to be too fixated on them. Otherwise, you might sound strange, you know, and like distant from everyday life. Where instead this recognition to me is, you know, so ordinary, really, so normal. We sometimes start to have a spiritual life thinking that we must reach the divine, you know, or like the higher self, where instead is about really being human, 100%, and you know, and being human, you know, that's the challenge. We're not human beings reaching for God. We are really God that is making the experience of itself as human being. So nowadays, you know, I'm trying to stress this to people, and because I believe that this is really like this setting ourselves as human, you know, as we are. That it's the key. Not in making like of alignment or self-recognition, a spiritual goal, you know, to achieve like kill your ego or something like that. Of course, like, you know, it's something that we all pass through at the beginning, because when you start to see, when you have a glimpse of this, when you start to see what you are, then the mind catches back and try to make it, transform it in a goal. You know, it's something you want to become. You want to become enlightened because you had an awakening, and now you want to be really, really enlightened. You know, 100%. And that's a game. After a while it tires you, and when it tires you completely, then you hear. That's it. Totally human, totally here. And you're in paradise. You understand what I mean?
Yes, yes. So how did you come to this realization, awareness, or knowledge that everything is consciousness?
I don't know. It happened. Because, I didn't even heard the word alignment. I didn't even know that people were seeking alignment. So I'm one of those, odd cases in which, meditation or spirituality was not preceding this recognition. What really happened, like in a nutshell, is that basically there was a lot of suffering, something quite common, I think a lot of people experience that, or all, until they don't see what they are. And I was depressed, and in this 2-3 years of depression, I started to become curious of this contraction that was present always. I started to see that even when things were going as I wanted, or as I thought they were going in a way that would bring me some happiness or something, there was this how to say, this noise, like this constant, something was, the bucket was never full, it was a hole in the bottom all the time. So I started to be curious of this feeling. And I've always been very curious, I think it's a characteristic of this body. So in becoming curious of this, a natural acceptance started to develop. Because I would say that you cannot be curious about something without being open. So instead of rebelling against life when it was not going as I wanted, or the moods that were coming up in the mind, or the stories, started to listen and to see that even when things were not going as I wanted, they were going in a way that were showing me something in a way. They were opening my heart. So slowly, I used to be Catholic because I was raised in Italy. My prayers were becoming amen. Thy will be done, really. It was an openness. And more there was this openness, and more there was joy and gratefulness for life. Until I would say a moment in which this opening reached a kind of momentum. This is that you call it in English, I'm not sure. With momentum. And one night I was a bit sad because my lover left me, as lovers do. And I was there, I was supposed to go with some friends and distract myself, but I say no, I don't want. I want to stay with this feeling because, as I said before, I was becoming curious, more of observing this feeling. In a sense, was a natural meditation, even if nobody told me, Then acting it out, or acting out the pain, or the sadness. So I was there, lying in my bed, and I was saying, oh, I really miss him, because I love him so much. And then I said, wait a minute, I'm loving him, so love is already present. And you see, at that point, love was a big thing for me, I was not so much into understanding. The understanding of all this came afterwards. I was was more I would say, a bhakti part, if you call it with Indian terms. And then I fell asleep in that moment with this realization that I was the love I was looking for. Really, into its recognition. It was not just a mental thing. I could really see it. That this radiance of love was already present. And I fell asleep with this. And I don't know, it was maybe 11 o'clock. I wake up around 2 o'clock. And all my body was shaking. Every single cell of my body was singing in joy, It was totally blissful. I was feeling this wave of bliss, wave of love, overlapping each other, and like I was feeling completely dissolving in the room. I was convinced I was dying in the moment. In fact, it makes me laugh thinking about it now. I even text that guy and say, "Oh, I forgive you for everything," because I thought I was dying, and I thought, "Oh, how sad now I die," and I never say to him that I forgave him. So I was like completely like I could barely see the room because it was like I was fused with everything. And I guess like instead of dying, I woke up again. I went like it's like the process went with say 90%. I didn't dissolve completely into nothingness consciously, but a big piece was, done. And I woke up the day after. I remember until the moment I didn't know anything about alignment. And I realized that something was happening to me because I was feeling, and this is the way in which I expressed it to a friend that I phoned that morning, as if like I was this big eye that was looking at a little eye that was doing things. And I was saying to my friend, wow, everything is like a cartoon, like a strip, like Mickey Mouse. It's like people speak and it's like the balloon, with words. And like it was really strange because I couldn't take it so real as before. But at the same time, I didn't have an understanding, an intellectual understanding. I was experiencing it, but I didn't know what it was. So it was very like mellow, very like coming and going as a thing. And for the first time, I thought, maybe I need a guide. Something is happening to me, something very good. But I didn't search for it. I didn't search for a guru or anything. I've never been somebody like believing like in gurus or people with strange names, So after I changed my name, but I'm telling you this to explain you. I was a financial journalist. I was not somebody that was going to meditate or doing yoga. I was not vegetarian. I was totally normal person, that maybe a bit sensitive. This yes, but and curious, as I said. But I was not into spirituality. So it was only after, like, by chance or by destiny, I don't know, same thing, that a friend invited me to a satsang with a spiritual Welsh master called Bodhi Avasta. And when I met him, he was expressing with words very precise what I was living. And then I said, wow, he knows what is going on with me. It's the same thing. And after 5 days, this recognition happened. And I realized that Caterina, that was the name I used to call myself, I still use this name, but not so much now, was actually never existed. It was just like a thought in my mind. And that this God that I've been praying to or like sending wishes and things to all my life was actually me. And all I was experiencing was just actions, but there was nobody in the body.
Okay.
And this was like 100% clear, And after that, this was like 10 years ago, it was April 2003. And like that big experience that I told you, like this oneness experience, I would say, not so much, was January of 2003. So in the first 2 years, there was like a kind of stabilization, like there was like a coming and going, Especially at the very beginning, the very first months, it was like, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like when like duality was coming back, was like nightmare, and then like wow, how I did manage to fall back again for it. But I never really, to be honest with you, I never believed again to be in the body. I never felt myself in the body. The mind came back, the sense of separation came back very strong. this is something, you know, I want to stress out. It's very important. There's a lot of people that are awakening right now, a lot. And a lot of them think, oh, maybe it's not happening because the mind is coming back. You know, it's rubbish. It's not like this. Mind comes back because it's just a movement of consciousness as well. So this stuff came back big time, and still some time comes, you know, and the only difference is that now, like, there is no more the feeling to be inside it, but just the witness of it. And so it's coming and going, and more rarely now than like years ago for sure. But it's not coming and going for me. It's just coming and going. You understand what I say? It's like watching a corpse floating on the river, and you say, "Oh, it stinks," but it's not you. So after this like first awakening in 2003 in April, after a while the sharing of it started. Like at the beginning, more like one-to-one or like writing on people, because people were attracted by me, and I suppose because like this body has like communication skills, which was a journalist, you know. Consciousness uses it because it's good in communicating, so it carried on to use it like now for communicating realization. And in the last like I would say 3 years especially, like are starting to be more public, you know, and giving satsang. And in fact now, like in the next 10 days, I have 10 meetings every night. So that's it. I lost it with myself was a long reply, but
no, that's fine. So I was going to say that that was lovely as you are, and it's good that your mind comes back sometime, because if you say that you are the love that you are looking for, that would not be very good for your partner or a guy or a person to hear. So in the sense, like, it's better that your mind comes back sometime.
I don't know, you know, I think my partner is quite aware that he is the love that he was looking for. Like, you know, it's strange because nowadays relationships are completely different respect how they were years ago. I could, like, you know, I want to explain it better. Like, what I mean is, like, in a sense, I am in a relationship with everything, you know, what I really am. So the body is attracted to another body and likes hang around with somebody, and this is what simply happens. But that emotional love that I used to feel is no more present. Because you see, the highest love is silence. But when you say, I'm falling in love with you, you know, what you usually say is that you're feeling this emotional radiance in your heart usually, like rising, you know, and you feel it very intense. And more you feel close to somebody, more you feel one with somebody, and more this feeling is intense. Then, usually, you know, we create something to disconnect again from the love, because if you would fall for it fully, you would die in the flame of love. So, all the time that you come back to that fire, you know, and your sense of separation burns even more, your heart breaks and open more and more and more. But when the heart is completely open, is empty. And when the heart is empty, you don't feel love, you are it. And everybody is in love with you. They are in the love that you are. And this is my experience in this moment, you know, like I am this love I was looking for. And so I am this silent background. The same thing. The silent background is the heart. That's the heart. And when you're understanding really, like there is this spiritual catchy phrase they say, bring your understanding in the heart. It's true, because in a sense, when the understanding becomes into it and you are this empty background, you don't know anymore anything because you are it. You know? I think it was Osho that used to say, not knowing is the most intimate thing. Beautiful expression. And so nowadays in my relationship, I don't feel anymore this like, I love you. There is nothing like that. It can be physical attraction, it can be like the niceness to be with somebody, but like that love that was aimed to, I am that. So I don't look for it in somebody. And that's very relaxing, because when we hunt around for love, it's very stressing. It's not always we hunt around for the love of our partner. Sometimes it's the love for our guru or like, mother, father, or, like, you understand what I mean. Like, can have many names, labels. I would say that one of the most hard labels to take off is God. The word God, quite hard to take it off. Because the love of God, in the United States, some people say, I felt the presence of God. But if you really feel the presence of God, it's silence. It's silence. You don't feel anything. And usually people don't like it because it's not very romantic. But that's the mind, because when you go beyond that fear of disappearing in that love, it's nothing but boring. The mind thought was like a desert, or void and cold. It's not like this. It's vibrant. It's an emptiness that is vibrant with life. It's full.
Okay, so I'll ask an unusual question.
Yeah.
So on days that you are not doing satsang, what is your typical day like? Like just describe your one day,
Well, okay.
one average day.
Yeah. Well, I travel a lot, for giving satsang, and when I don't do my talks, I translate Avasa in Italian, organize things for him, so I'm quite busy. But when I'm not doing these things, I am in my home in Sicily, and usually I just like, cook a lot, doing jumps, veggie garden, and or writing. I like writing. I like poetry, and I write essays. So my day is very, very simple. I like nature, and so I would say I love music. The passions that I had before, that were like writing and music, remained, and like cooking. Very simple life. Like sometimes people come to visit me, and and it's very, very simple with the life I do. And nothing special. Like also, the job I do is nothing special. It's just something that the body do. It's not special. I'm not special. I'm a very simple person. And also this, is something that is important, I think, like to communicate to who is listening, that you don't need to be special. Be yourself. That's being special. So that's it.
Okay.
There is not an enlightened way of life, or anything like that.
Okay. So you mentioned nature.
Yes.
So I have a question related to nature.
Yeah.
So
Can you just a second, because I think the plug has unplugged and I don't want to lose. Just a second.
okay.
Okay, sorry. There is like the plug of the computer needed to be plugged in. Okay. Yes.
Is there a guitar behind you?
Yeah, my father plays guitar and me too. As I said, I love music. I like singing a lot with my friends.
Oh,
I have a
really?
lot of friends. Yeah, lots of musicians friends of mine, and
Wow.
we like to play together blues, rock, Beatles, whatever. Sometimes mantras, but not all the time. Just all the same. There is nothing more spiritual than another.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you like nature.
Yeah.
So question related to that is that many people say, and that is my experience also, that when you go in nature, you feel very connected. You feel
Yeah.
at home,
Yes.
and some peace, some calm naturally comes to you.
Yes.
And when you are in like a enclosed building, inside, indoor, away from nature, away from trees, away from plants, you feel like after some time you feel little agitated.
Mhm.
And it's not only for humans, even like animals, like dogs, cats. So if they are indoor for a very long time, they start feeling irritated, agitated, and they need to go out in open air, in nature, because that's
Mhm.
where most of times human species, all animal species have evolved, have lived. So is
Mhm.
that your experience also?
Well, I would say that like my experience now really is like that the body for sure prefers to be in nature, but I don't feel like more in silence when I am in nature than when I'm not. But um, to reply back to your question, it is absolutely true that when you needed to stabilize in this seeing of what you are, being in natural environment can be very helpful for a simple reason that a tree doesn't reflect you back sense of separation or wildlife. So if you're still struggling for like stabilizing in this recognition, staying in a natural environment, or even like, I don't want to sound even eating a certain kind of food. So there is nothing wrong with eating meat or fish or whatever. It's not your diet to bring you to alignment, okay? But I can understand that sometimes, like you feel naturally, spontaneously inclined to change maybe even your diet, your style life, maybe quit smoking or doing some sports, because the body itself goes through a process of purification when the sense of recognition starts to fall apart. So being in nature can be very helpful. And I would say that if somebody struggles with their mind a lot, going for a walk in the park, if you are in a city at least, or if you are blessed to be in the countryside, even better. But even going, sitting under a tree can calm you down because it doesn't reflect you back a sense of separation. And this is something a lot of people like struggle, because sometimes they have this sensitivity that is opening up. They feel very open, but the environment around them is quite hard because it's very polluted, because people they're not in their mind, and so they can find tough even like to go in a supermarket, for instance. And this is something I hear a lot from people. And I remember like um, at the beginning, like 10 years ago when this started to happen for me, walking through a market sometimes could have could could be, like an experience a bit tough because I was feeling bombarded, by people. And because like this world, imaginary but energetical, was the more present, like, you know. And then the thing is, like, if you remain present to this stuff, and okay, you allow yourself to stay a bit quiet by yourself if you need it, but if you allow, in a sense, if it's possible to remain present to this when it comes up, when it's too much, then you get accustomed and you process it, you go through it and you dissolve it in yourself to the point that it doesn't matter. I will be in Naples tomorrow, then I will be in Rome in the next few days and in Milano. They're very busy cities, but it doesn't affect me. It doesn't change that if you tell me, do we go in a big city or we go on the beach? I go on the beach because I like it more, simply, but not because it makes me more quiet. You understand what I mean?
So how do you travel? You travel like you drive, or you take a train, or you fly?
Well, that's a funny question because I'm quite a global trotter, but I don't drive. I don't have a driving license. So when I travel by myself, I use the plane or the train or the bus, or I walk when I can.
Okay.
And when I'm with somebody that is driving, I take a leave. I don't know why I don't have the driving license. It's a mystery to me. All the time that I say, oh, I should really take the driving license, it remains a thought, and it doesn't manifest. But maybe one day I will surprise myself. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe you don't want people to know your date of birth. That's why you don't have driving license.
People, sorry, say it again?
No. On your driving license,
yes,
they will put your date of birth. So you want to keep your date of birth secret.
No.
That's why.
No. I can say my
No,
date of birth.
Yeah, I was just joking. I'm not.
No.
Yeah.
It's more on my ID card anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you mentioned like few things that changed after your whatever you want to call it, recognition, awakening.
Yeah.
Did your food or diet or anything, how do you live your life, how do you spend your time, did any of that change?
Well, in a sense, nothing has changed, and a lot of things has changed, nothing dramatic has changed.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, I met a lot of people that woke up in these years, really a lot.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, there is a big change.
Mm-hmm.
For some, it's like a gentle, and there is little difference. My style life has changed in the sense that I dropped my job when realization happened, because I was very sad in doing it, and all that was not natural and true and characteristic of mine dropped. All the things that were not true of me. When I say me, I'm meaning now like the body mind, the form. All the things that were not aligned with my body mind, they dropped in time. So in that way, my life changed. For instance, I was not so sensitive before as now to foods that were not good for my body. So now, like, I feel more when they are not good for me, and it's natural not to eat them. But so I eat sometimes chocolate and things, as everybody, like something. But it's something that is it's coming spontaneously. So my lifestyle, like food-wise, changed because of that. And I don't know, everything, I would say that everything found a kind of regularity, a normality, like maybe the middle way of the Buddha, kind of. Everything is, I would say it's not extreme, because there is no seeking in it. You see, like when you go in extreme, it's because you're seeking something in a thing. When you don't seek anything in it, the actions of the body are simply aligned with what is characteristic to it. This is what I found, not just for myself, but also in other forms. I see this, that it happens like this. For sure, it's not something that is contrived. It's not something that is made a name for. It happens. But it's not something that you go for it and say, oh, I must be pure, or I must be. I tell you something that is quite funny. Nowadays, it makes me laugh because I would never do it again. I was like 10 years ago with a Vasa in Texas, in Southern, in Austin, and there was a lot of people. There were multiple macrobiotics in the room. There were quite a lot of people present, and we just ordered some kind of hamburger, kind of McDonald's, and we were like eating the hamburgers before the setting and drinking Coke, and the people, well, they're shocked, what they're doing. That's not supposed to happen. Nowadays, I wouldn't do it because it's really junk food. But I could see that that was, in a sense, the action of consciousness that needed to provoke it. I simply knew that suddenly I wanted a McDonald's, and I took it. But um, so like, there was no idea that something must not be done because it's not spiritual. But it finds its way. For sure I don't eat McDonald's. When I was back in the States, I never had it. I don't like it. I don't like particular meat actually, but not because it's not like a spiritual thing. I mean, beside the fact, that the not ethical way in which some animals are treated, but that's another story anyway. But this is understandable, of course. But even with organic meat and things, I don't like it so much. But that episode was like, in a sense, very interesting because it was clear it was not personal. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was functional for showing something, but it was not intentional. It was really funny to watch.
So you mentioned that you like music and sometimes you also sing.
Yeah,
including some mantra. So what mantra you can sing? Can you sing one?
Yeah. Well, I like Indian mantras, or like Celtic chanting, But it's not like a singing mantra to find, silence or to make a big experience. It's simply it's nice, and it's like, I believe that also like certain mantras, when they're sang well, what I mean like well is not just like an aesthetical thing, but is well, in the proper way, it aligns the body, it's a kind of like yoga of the sound in a sense. So you can feel it, it's good. And so I like it. But
are you in
it's
mood
not
to
like...
sing? Are you in mood to sing one now?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't have to be perfect.
I don't know. Maybe I go out of tune, but who cares?
Yeah, fine.
There is a nice mantra that Avasa made. You can sing it there.
Which one?
It's a mantra that actually Avasa composed. It's in English.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
And it's nice. Yeah. It's just like this. Life is beautiful. Oh, life is good. Life's so very beautiful. All that is appearing is arising in me. I is not the body. I is not the mind. I am this presence within which these things I define.
Yeah, very beautiful.
It's nice, huh?
Yeah, it is nice.
It points to the self.
Yeah.
In the world.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying.
Hey, you're welcome.
Okay. So thanks a lot for joining, and thanks a lot for your time.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I hope this can be interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
To know that this realization happens by itself, really. And it's always available. It's just enough to open your heart. That's it.
Okay. So if you want to like give some information about yourself, like where to find you, how to reach you.
I don't know. People can type my name on Google and they can find me,
Okay.
Yeah, if they want. Otherwise, it's anyway very nice to talk to you, and it's nice the project you're doing, and I really wish you well for it.
Thank
And
you.
keep in touch.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And I'll put whatever information. I'll put some information about you in the summary.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
they can find
For sure.
that way also. Okay. So namaste. And
Namaste.
again, so I know you are not your body mind, but you are very beautiful. Very pretty.
Thank you.
So thanks. Okay.
It's all yours.
Yeah.
The beauty you see here, it's yours.
Okay.
If you stay with the beauty completely, it becomes more beautiful and more beautiful and more beautiful until you fry into it.
Okay, bye.
Ciao.